You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, what we'll do now is let's talk about the position of the EFF with regards to specifically the Ad Hoc Committee and two significant names, because the National Assembly Speaker, Thoko Didiza, has denied protecting the Northwest businessman, Brown Mogotsi, and the forensic investigator, Paul O'Sullivan. Now, the reason she did that is in response to the EFF leader, Julius Malema, accusing the Speaker, and listen to these words, of political protection over her refusal to subpoena the two. Well, let's find out exactly what the EFF position is and what's next with Mazwi Bloze, the EFF MP. Appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and to the listeners at home.
Thank you. Let's get to the first part about your leader, talking about political protection over Thoko Didiza's refusal to subpoena the two. Why would you think, why would the EFF, why would Julius Malema think it is political protection?
Well, there's been a deliberate attempt not to get Paul O'Sullivan to appear before the Ad Hoc Committee. You would know that we written to her, or the committee actually had written to her as late as October last year, for her to put a signature on the subpoenas to get these two individuals to come before the Ad Hoc Committee. The committee is set to close its work by the 20th of February, and she's only responding now just 2 weeks before we need to wrap up. So the lateness in the response and the vagueness in what now she deems as security threats on the lives of these individuals, without any credible proof, without any credible institution declaring these security threats, are then something that leaves us, very uncomfortable, which then we see them as political protection, because necessarily what Paul O'Sullivan was going to, reveal in the Ad Hoc Committee was going to implicate a majority ANC cadres who are then, their names repeatedly come up in this committee. So her attempt, to get or to protect them not to come to the Ad Hoc Committee, we view it as her protecting, her peers within the ANC and in Parliament.
All right, she may not have subpoenaed them for now, but she hasn't quite ruled them out being witnesses, has she?
Well, she doesn't necessarily need to say that they don't need to come, but you just frustrate the process and you delay what's supposed to happen up until the committee runs out of time, and then you give that as an excuse to say, no, I responded in this way, therefore the Ad Hoc Committee ran out of time and these individuals could not come up. That's what protection is, because she's not going to come up in public and say, no, as a speaker, I don't want these individuals to come. But obviously some tactics and maneuvering are going to happen, which is exactly what is happening now, and hence, the utterances of the President and Commander-in-Chief to call these things out so that the public can be aware in terms of what is happening.
All right, and I'm going to quote the Speaker directly, and this is what she said, right? The subpoena, she's referring to, they call for the subpoena of the two names mentioned, Paul O'Sullivan and Brown Mogotsi, right? She said the subpoena would act as the last resort when the witnesses have refused. In this instance, the two witnesses did not refuse to appear at Parliament. They applied to the committee to be allowed to testify virtually, particularly Mr. O'Sullivan. So as the Speaker, I had to apply my mind, reflect whether or not the committee has exhausted all the options and provided assurance to the witnesses that their concerns have been addressed. It's only then that the Speaker can support the committee's move to the next step. I mean, isn't she right? They haven't actually said no. They would want to be on camera, but they haven't said no. They will not attend any briefing, the Ad Hoc Committee in any form whatsoever.
Ashraf, the Ad Hoc Committee is an extension committee of Parliament, which the Speaker is the leader of. So she asked to listen to us as, her Ad Hoc Committee, which she established. Now, we are saying to her that there's a standing resolution of the Ad Hoc Committee, which even the ANC members agree, that we have refused or rejected the call by Paul O'Sullivan to appear virtually because of certain reasons that would have been ventilated within the Ad Hoc Committee. So that call that Paul O'Sullivan is putting forward to the Speaker, the Ad Hoc Committee has already addressed all those issues, and those things are before the Speaker. We've already told her that we have rejected the call by Paul O'Sullivan to come before the committee virtually. We want him physically in Parliament so that we are able to tell him in his face that he is not a superior citizen of this country, he's not above the constitution of this country, and he must clear his name in everything that should have came out of this. So the Speaker to then come back to us and say that these are the things that Paul O'Sullivan, we've already ventilated those things. We've already told the Speaker about that. We've told her we've rejected that. So she can't bring the same reasons to us and say that we have not articulated on those issues.
She made the point that the subpoena is an option when all other avenues are exhausted. Do you think, in your opinion, in Julius Malema's opinion and the EFF, that in fact all other avenues have already been exhausted?
We've exhausted everything. That's why we wrote to her and asked her to subpoena the individuals, because Paul O'Sullivan is trying every tactic in the book to avoid accountability or to appear in Parliament. He has tried to say he wants to go to an embassy, he'll appear virtually, he needs a security guard, he wants a private chef. He has tried everything not to appear. Hence, we went to the Speaker. Now, for the Speaker to give us the very same reasons, and the Ad Hoc Committee has deliberated on these issues and took a resolution. So the Speaker is our leadership. We are going to her as our leader. And we're saying, just put your signature on this thing. We have articulated, we have agreed as a committee, the chair has agreed on these issues. We want these people to be subpoenaed into the committee. Don't bring us the same reason that they've been bringing, including those of the security threat. Because we are saying that there must be a credible institution that is going to investigate and give us a report that these threats are real. So that's where we do not fall in the trap of Brown Mogotsi, who went and fabricated security threats and shot his own car, and then we must take that as credible evidence because people want to evade accountability. So all of these things that the Speaker is saying, that's why we're saying it's delaying tactics. It's just her protecting these individuals. Because at the Ad Hoc Committee, there's a standing resolution. We've tried everything in our powers, and her lateness to respond to these issues, because as she came back to us even as late as last year, we would have told her all of these things, and we will be in a better position now to get these individuals to come to Parliament. Right. So for her to come back now 2 weeks before we close is also questionable.
Okay, I know we're talking about ad hoc, but one can apply by extension to the Nhlanhla Commission. Are there not valid concerns from some witnesses that appearing before the Commission compromises themselves in terms of their safety? We've seen examples of that. I'm not pointing it out to Paul O'Sullivan specifically, but just the general principle. And we heard yesterday there was an attempted, killing of another person implicated. Are those not valid concerns?
But look, Ashraf, we've always said as the EFF that Nhlanhla Commission is just a waste of time. And the unfortunate part is that the Nhlanhla Commission is running parallel with the Ad Hoc Committee. But the Ad Hoc Committee is not a subcommittee of the Nhlanhla Commission. Whatever happens, it does not implicate us. The Ad Hoc Committee is a committee of Parliament. It is based in Parliament. Parliament is highly protected. It's got its own security, protected by the police. When people land in the Cape Town International Airport, those protection and security can be provided for. So we are not a committee that is established in a hall somewhere and then people are exposed to all sorts of dangers and all of that. Because we have always questioned the existence of this Nhlanhla Commission. So Parliament is governed differently. It is a legal, legislative, framework that is governed by the Constitution of this country. And it is the right body that should be, investigating these matters. And we wouldn't be having all of these things that are happening in the Nhlanhla Commission. So hence now, that's why then, Paul O'Sullivan can draw to the Nhlanhla Commission and want to draw, those parallel to the Ad Hoc Committee, which actually does not exist. Since the Ad Hoc Committee started, we have had no incidents of any witnesses in the Ad Hoc Committee who has been, threatened or tried to be shot or anything of that sort. But everything else is happening in the Nhlanhla Commission. So we don't want to draw things from that commission to want them to legitimize a legitimate process that is happening.
Okay, just very, very quickly on to news time. Malema, amongst the many things he said, talking about the refusal to do the subpoena, saying that the Speaker, they might expose, and I'm quoting, politicians involved in wrongdoing. Do you think that is the case? That means that is why the reluctance, because politicians need to, watch their own backs?
Yeah, I remember some of the witnesses that have came in the Ad Hoc Committee told us that Paul O'Sullivan actually handpicks, this was even General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, that Paul O'Sullivan handpicks commissioners of this country. So Paul O'Sullivan can even implicate the president if he was to come up, and hence the reluctance. That's why we are calling this thing out, because Paul O'Sullivan has got a lot of information and is going to implicate a lot of people, high-profile ANC politicians, and this is why the Speaker is acting this way.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Mazwer Bloze, the EFF MP, thank you for your time. Some may say, now I wonder what you think. Would you say, yet first prize is in person, but in a case like Paul O'Sullivan's, where he's away, hey, get him any way you can, but just get him on record. Think about it.